Alright, folks, this one is going to be a tough one. I think every fan of this team does understand to some degree that nothing can be taken for granted with these guys because we all watch this team. We all know that these guys, they get involved in a lot of close games. They start slow. They don't really get started until the second quarter or the third quarter or maybe even the fourth quarter, and the score is always, within one touchdown at the end, and it all comes down to what happens in the last 2 or 3 minutes. But this is going to be a really interesting game for me, and I think it's going to be very, very tough. And if we actually do win this game, I will genuinely be very, very impressed with this squad because, all right, Seattle Seahawks flying all the way down to Tampa Bay, taking on the Buccaneers, 3,000-mile-long commute. 3 time zones. That's not fun. That's not the situation you want your team to be in against anybody. Now, Tampa Bay, they're not a great team. They've been bad at home this year. They're 1-4 at home. They have a second-year quarterback who is capable of doing some good things and also does quite a few bad things. They're 5-5. They're alive in the playoff chase, but they do need to win. I'd say probably at least 4 or 5 more of their games to have any real shot at it. They do some things pretty well, and they do struggle in some areas. And normally, this isn't really the kind of team that you'd be too concerned about. I think any game where you're flying 3,000 miles to play in someone else's stadium is something to take very seriously, but to put it simply, this team is missing some pieces right now, and if they can overcome the problems that they have and they can find a way to win a game in Tampa, then I'm going to be really, really impressed. Because right now I'm looking at it, next 2 weeks are going to be really tough. We're missing a lot of pieces. They're not going to get back immediately. And I see these next 2 games. We're going to Tampa, and then we're hosting Carolina. I'd be happy with a split. If we can split those 2 games, I think that puts us in good position the rest of the season to just take care of business and get the 2 seed, probably the 2 seed. As for this specific game, offensively, there are definitely problems. CJ Prosise gone for the rest of the regular season. Probably going to be back for the playoffs, but as far as the regular season Seahawks are concerned, he is not here. And he was doing great things for this offense on the ground and through the air, and it sucks. Christine Michael off the team over in Green Bay, can't help. They're using him now apparently, or they're going to. So we've got really one credible running back on this roster right now. We've got Thomas Rawls, who's great, don't get me wrong. And then you've got Alex Collins, his rookie 2.8 yard per carry average. Last time he touched the football in an NFL game, he had a butt fumble. And then behind him, I don't even know. Don't even get me started on that. So, not great. The best player on our offensive line, Justin Britt, hopefully he plays, but something happened in practice this week. He's not a guarantee to play. He's like 50-50. I don't feel great about that. He was the best thing we had going on this line. The line is not good. We all know that, but Britt was stable in the middle there. I don't think he's played a bad game all season. So, offensively, and I'm going to say this for the defense as well, we need the guys who are there to man the fuck up. Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, Jimmy Graham, Paul Richardson. I'll even throw Jermaine Kearse in there as much as that he's frustrating me lately. Gotta happen. Tampa Bay, they've got their own problems with injuries. They're not going to feel bad for anybody. They might not have their 2 best cornerbacks in this game, Alteron Werner and Brent Grimes. They're both questionable with injuries. I heard something that indicated that they wouldn't play. If they do play, they're of course not going to be at 100%. That has to be the opportunity for this offense to produce. Russell Wilson, finding Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, Paul Richardson, Jermaine Kearse in that secondary. Secondary is going to have problems in this game for Tampa Bay. But it only matters if we can exploit it, and that involves giving Russell enough time in the pocket to find a receiver. That involves good play design that allows these receivers to get open down the field and make big plays. And if I don't see those things on Sunday, then I can almost guarantee it's not going to be good, because I love Thomas Rawls, but he should not be getting 25, 30 carries in a game right now. He shouldn't be there yet. And we should give him the opportunity to slowly work his way back into this offense, slowly work his way back into this game. And I need the passing attack to carry this tomorrow. And of course, Jimmy Graham, who I think I neglected to mention just now. Every week, Jimmy Graham. There are some weeks he's not going to have the huge numbers, but some weeks he is, and this would be a hell of a time for it, because I want this team to win this game through the air. I want to see the guys we have. Doug Baldwin, like I said, especially Doug Baldwin, who is just a superhuman right now. I want to see those guys man up and make up for the deficiencies on this team, because that is going to be the area where we are still strong and we still have advantages. That's the offense. They have problems, but this defense, and this is really where I don't know what we're going to get come Sunday. Earl Thomas, this hurts. This hurts me, like, emotionally, man. I mean, missing Earl Thomas for a game or two sucks on the football field, but there are 6-year-old kids out there who have not been alive for Earl Thomas not playing in a Seahawks game. Earl Thomas has played in every game, regular season and playoffs, since he got here. Drafted him 14th overall, I think. He's played in every game. Missing tomorrow, pretty much for sure at this point. He did everything he could to fight his way onto the active roster. He's not going to play. That hurts, because he's meant so much to this team, and having him out there means so much. And in a football sense, it's going to hurt not having him out there. We've all seen how this defense looks with no Cam Chancellor, with no Bobby Wagner. You miss those crucial pieces on your defense, and the production of the entire unit just drops as a result. And then you have Deshaun Shedd, who I similarly expect to miss at least one game, maybe two. That's half your starting secondary right now. So we got this Tampa Bay team that they're not great offensively. Their quarterback is not great, but he is good. He can make big plays down the field. He's got a couple receivers that can make big plays down the field. Mike Evans, who I really like, and Vincent Jackson, who's good. They're one of the best teams in the league at converting 3rd and long, which has been a problem for our defense stopping lately. So there's another thing to not feel great about. And now we don't have our second cornerback, and we don't have our best safety. Earl, forget best safety. Earl might be our best player on defense, for all we know. We're going to find out a little bit about his value this next week. So my point is, Tampa Bay's probably going to hit some plays through the air. The plays that usually don't get there because of Earl, they might be getting there a little bit on Sunday. So on top of that, Michael Bennett's still not back. Probably going to be missing one more week. Hopefully we get him back for Carolina. That seems to be the timetable. And you combine an injured secondary with a pass rush that will probably struggle. Not good. That's two different layers where your pass defense is suspect. Hey, Cliff Avrill's having an incredible season. Frank Clark is playing great. Cassius Marsh, he tries his hardest out there. We've got defensive tackles who are doing their best to provide some push up the middle on passing plays, but it's a problem right now. And the bottom line is Tampa Bay is going to hit some plays through the air. We have to expect it. We have to accept it. We have to hope that Richard Sherman takes care of his side of the field and that we can hold the fort everywhere else. So, beyond Richard Sherman, of course, the two guys I really, really want to see good games from, who have been playing phenomenally this year so far, don't get me wrong. I'm not worried about them. But Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright, plug the run. That goes for Jerron Reed and Tony McDaniel and all of our defensive tackles, too. If John Jenkins gets in there, him, too. Make them one-dimensional, at least. If they beat us through the air, they beat us through the air. I understand right now. But don't let them run on us. Shut them down. So I'm looking at the linebackers, Wagner and Wright, looking at the defensive tackles. Just make that part of the game hard for them. Make them work for everything. Don't give them any cheap yards on the ground. If they get some big plays through the air, I'll deal. But let's at least take away that other dimension. So if we can accomplish all that, I think we will find a way to win this game. It's going to be very tough. We're missing a lot of things that we're used to having. Brock Hoyle, who not a huge part of this team by any means, but he's another piece who's better than the guy who's going to be replacing him, and every little bit just makes it a little harder for this team to achieve their goals. So I feel like we can win, of course. The guys that we have are good enough to make enough plays to win against almost anybody. But we're going to learn a lot. And like I said, if we find a way to win this game, however we find a way to win, I don't care if Tyler Lockett returns 4 kicks for touchdowns. I'm going to learn a lot about this team, and I'm going to be crazy impressed with any victory. I'll see you guys after the game.